Hey, Karen.
Yes.
We've explored the topic of hypnosis before. Now, it was a surface level conversation pretty much about what it was from the perspective of a stage hypnotist.
Right.
Right. Well, today we have the opportunity to speak with someone that uses hypnosis not to perform on stage, although I'm sure she'd be happy to, but rather to help people in all facets of their lives, including and especially spirituality.
It's fantastic.
Best of all, you and I had the opportunity to get hypnotized
I know.
by her, and we can't wait to share that amazing experience with you right now. My name is Will.
And I'm Karen.
And unlike Mulder and Scully,
we both want to believe.
So we've embarked on a journey of discovery.
We've talked to people deeply entrenched in the spiritual and metaphysical world.
We've thrown ourselves into weird and wonderful experiences. I even joined a coven of witches.
And wait, you joined a coven?
Yep, all in the interest of finding something.
Anything.
That will prove that there's something beyond this physical,
three-dimensional world we all live in.
This is the Skeptic Metaphysicians. Welcome to the Skeptic Metaphysicians. I'm Will.
And I'm Karen.
And today it's all about the power of the mind. Cathie Cain is the owner and director of Hypno Health Solutions and is a certified master hypnotist. So you know she knows what she's talking about. Now, she's also a past life regressionist, a spiritual guidance mentor, and get this, Karen, a dudist priest.
A dudist priest.
Yeah, we're going to ask her about that because I think this has something to do with the Big Lebowski, but we'll see. Now, she's certified in a huge amount of techniques that all sound like complete Greek to me. So if you look in our show notes, you can see all the impressive list of credentials after her name, but I won't bore you with them right now. I can tell you that she opened her hypnotherapy practice in 2009, and since she's successfully hypnotized thousands of clients to help them achieve incredible transformations. But wait. There's more. She's also proficient at reading tarot and oracle cards. She loves to study astrology and works with crystals, so you know she is one of us.
Now, as much as I love hearing your voice, Will, I would love to hear hers.
Well, then let's welcome to the show, Cathie Cain. Cathie.
Well, thank you so much, you both. It's so good to see you both, Karen and Will. Thank you for inviting me on your show. As I said to you previously, I am a big fan of you guys. You guys put out good content, so I am so honored to be here.
You are incredibly sweet to say that. We really appreciate you. And the check is in the mail.
And we are big fans of yours as well.
We are huge,
Thank you.
Huge fans.
Thank you.
Cathie, let's start right up front with the misconception. There's a misconception that hypnosis makes people lose control. But really, what it's about getting control back, right?
Absolutely, 100%. It's all hypnosis is voluntary. You know, nobody's making anybody go into hypnosis. You can't be made to do anything you don't want to do or say anything you don't want to say, or that's not inherently within your psyche while you're in the normal hypnotic trance state. That's really just a bunch of Hollywood hooey, to be perfectly honest with you. So, yeah.
It's fun to watch.
It is fun to watch, and it makes the shows really fascinating, and it ties everything together, but it denotes the wrong idea as to exactly what the hypnotic trance state really is and what a person experiences while they're in it, as you both, found out for yourselves.
Yeah. And we'll definitely get into our experiences in a few minutes. But the thing that I liken it to, since we did experience it, is it's almost like it's an agreement that we make with you.
Yeah.
That says, okay, we'll go along with it. And the value behind it is that if you do allow yourself to just go into that agreement, there's all kinds of benefits that come from that.
100%. Yeah, that is that voluntary state that you're in. It's a state of allowingness. You're not in resistance to an acceptable suggestion. Now, if I were to present to anyone an unacceptable suggestion, it would immediately get kicked out unless it resonated with what's stored in their subconscious mind. Like if I put in a suggestion, boy, you look really sick, and they have a belief that they're not good enough or they don't deserve health. So you got to be very careful with things like that. So if it resonates with somebody, they're going to accept it, whether it's positive or not. So this is where the training comes in, where the ethics come in.
Wow.
Yeah, it could get pretty deep.
And pretty personal. But speaking of personal, I have a personal question for you.
Sure.
What made you want to get into hypnotherapy?
Oh, well, interestingly enough, I've always felt like I was just a natural counselor, but I didn't want to just jump right into that field fresh out of college.
Mhm.
Got into the mortgage industry just from the direction I was going in, and had a great time. It was actually a better schooling for me than actual school was, because you learn the human condition in its natural state, and in a very vulnerable state, because you're dealing with people's money, their home, and
Mhm.
it's a very personal scenario. So that really kind of educated me on human beings and how to properly work with human beings, and how they're feeling in vulnerable states, and that
Mhm.
it's an important thing to care for people, because especially in that industry, most people are dealing with sharks.
Oh
Mm,
yeah.
yeah,
Right.
Ooh.
So I like to,
unfortunately.
have high ethics, and always made sure that my clients got great deals, and got into their homes as smooth as possible. So that was a good learning experience for me. But I've always been fascinated with hypnosis. I've been reading Dr. Raymond Moody and Dr. Brian Weiss since I was 18 years old. So I've always been steeped in it, always fascinated with it. And I actually used hypnosis or hypnotherapy to help me while I was in the mortgage industry de-stress myself.
Oh wow.
Especially when it was getting a little hectic there about 15 years ago. It was very stressful, and I also knew I was smoking too many cigarettes. I was a pack a day smoker, sometimes more, used hypnotherapy to end that habit. So
Mhm.
when I realized just how powerful it was, I decided to stop selling people a mortgage interest rate and start selling them their own self-worth instead.
Mm. Well, first of all, congratulations on quitting smoking. That's
Thank
incredible.
you. Thank
Yeah.
Yeah,
you. Haven't looked
That's
back since
huge accomplishment.
2007. Yeah.
No, and I remember back a while ago when I used to smoke myself
Right.
at one point.
You
Sorry, mom.
smoked yourself?
I smoked myself, yes, on a
That must have
constant
hurt.
basis. Yeah. Let's not go there because my mind went to the place I didn't want to go right now.
Oh
But
my gosh,
yes,
seriously. Well,
yeah,
you used to smoke cigarettes as well.
I did. Yes,
There
yes.
you go.
And
There you go.
I remember going to a hypnotist and saying to him, I really want to quit this. And he said to me, okay, give me your cigarettes for good right now. And I hesitated. And he said, you're not ready.
Mm.
Like, what are you talking about? Hypnosis. You probably, you could just give me a hypnotic suggestion and boom, I'm done smoking. But apparently that's not how it works. But you've got to be ready to make that change.
Well, yes and no. Yes and no. It all depends on the the hypnotist. If they're the type of hypnotist or hypnotherapist that's just going to use direct suggestion, then yeah, they're going to really need you to be ready, because they're going to have to hurdle. They don't want to have to hurdle the imbalance going on between your conscious and your subconscious, because your conscious mind wanted to quit or stop. I don't yet like to use the word quit, wanted to stop, but your subconscious wanted to continue. And if you're just going to use direct suggestion, that direct suggestion is going to be met with a brick wall.
Mm,
All right. So you need to actually heal the imbalance before you can introduce the direct suggestion. And that's actually what I do. I actually work with the part of the subconscious that encourages the person to smoke cigarettes, because as weird as it sounds, it thinks it's doing a good job. It's latched on to the idea that the cigarettes are actually making you happy. That's the bottom
Mhm.
line, is what it is.
right.
And once this part understands that its job is he's actually failing at his job, we have compliance. But then you can't stop there. You have to teach this part how to incorporate new tools of the toolbox, so you don't exchange one bad habit for another one, like turn into food, which is what most people do, right?
Mhm.
Mm, that's right.
So that's because nature abhors a vacuum. And when you take a tool away and don't replace it with something else, it's going to have to come up with something. And food's usually the easiest thing. So I teach the subconscious how to incorporate new tools that are conducive to being healthy and free from cigarettes or anything else that's not good for you, and then do a process called file deletion. And from that point, now we can introduce the direct suggestion, you are a non-smoker, the urge to smoke is gone, and even introduce mild amnesia. You just forget about cigarettes and
Ooh,
think about something else healthy instead.
what are
And
Wow.
some things
that
I'd like to
is,
forget?
it's a very powerful package. It really, really is.
I'm pretty sure Karen would like to forget some past
Yeah,
relationships.
things slash people.
We could do that too.
Please.
Absolutely. Take all the ugliness away. Absolutely,
Yeah.
because life
So
is meant to be fun.
so then do you do bulk discounts?
I should. Absolutely.
So if someone, you're saying that maybe they're not ready directly to be hypnotized like Will with the cigarettes, but subconsciously they are, does that mean that you could hypnotize them without them knowing? Like, could you I want this
Like a little
Ooh,
yes.
I wonder what.
backdoor action. That's a very
Yeah.
interesting thing. The
Better
seed
train
could
than college.
certainly be planted for sure, because there is somewhat of a willingness there. I mean, when I went
Mhm.
for my smoking cessation, be honest with truth be told, I still love smoking. I really did. I
Mhm.
loved it. I love the social aspect of it. I love the private time I get to have, when you just remove yourself and you get to, just have a moment to yourself. But I knew it was the worst thing I was doing to myself.
Mhm.
So that was all that was needed to make that transition. And that's really all that we all need, is give ourselves that chance to make that
Mhm.
transition and understand, trust the fact that it's not going to be as hard that as you make it out to be. It's actually going to
Right.
be easier.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, when we went to you to go get this done,
Yes.
we didn't necessarily have anything in mind. We were like, okay, Cathie, just show us the power of the mind, of hypnosis.
Right.
So I think Karen and I both went into it a little bit differently, and
Mhm.
we'll touch on that in a second.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
the very first thing that you do is you go in an in-depth accounting of what hypnosis is and how the process works.
Yeah.
Can you narrow it down for us?
Sure, sure. I'd be
Absolutely.
happy to. Happy to. Yeah, yeah. Because I know my pre-talk alone is 30 minutes. So,
Mhm.
but I think it's really important, you guys, for people to be educated, because there is a lot of misconception out there as to what people think hypnosis is. And in a previous podcast that I was on, I asked everybody, had they been previously hypnotized, and they said no. And I asked them, when you think of hypnosis, what's the first thing that comes to mind? And a lot of people said like magic and parlor tricks and
Mm,
Mhm.
things
like
of that
stage
nature.
hypnosis.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, exactly. So they're thinking that it's just a, woo woo. So the pre-talk is really, really important to first get clear on whatever it is that you're wanting to use hypnosis to help you with. And if it's just to have an experience, and we discuss that, right? And
Mhm.
then from there, we do talk about what hypnosis is and what it isn't. Um, and we talk about how it feels and how it works and how I conduct my sessions. So when you understand that we're working with the conscious and the subconscious mind, and how those two work together, that we're not mostly in our conscious mind, that only makes up maybe about 5% of our whole mind power. And that surprises a lot of people to hear that. We're mostly run by our subconscious mind, which makes up 90 to 95% of our mind power. And that part of our minds, that's the seat of our fears, our habits and patterns, our beliefs, which are very powerful, our emotions and feelings, and our thought energy. And it's our thought energy that's really driving our world. And most of us aren't aware of how mindless we are about the thoughts that just roll through our mind all day long, and
Mhm.
how most of these thoughts are of the negative nature. Either we're fantasizing about worst case scenario, we're ruminating about things that we don't like from the past, we're anxious about what may happen in the future, we're afraid of things that might happen, or we're thinking about the lack of what we want. Ugh, right? So all of the energy is super duper low, and so it's important to get into that seat of where we really live from. And as I'm telling everybody, my job really isn't to hypnotize people, it's to dehypnotize people. We get into the
Ooh.
subconscious mind and we get rid of those old programs that aren't serving anymore, the habits and patterns and beliefs that you're not even consciously aware of half the time, the
Mhm.
irrational fears where you're like, I don't know why I keep doing that or why I'm afraid of that thing. But it was something that got imprinted within the subconscious mind at some point in your life so long ago, you don't even remember that. But that program just keeps running over and over and over again. And it colors all of our
Mhm.
decisions and how we show up in the world and how we show up for ourselves.
Right.
So it's important for people to understand that that's where we're basically we're operating from this space. So it's from this space is where we need to get the deep healing. And I make it as non-evasive as possible. um, I like to use the metaphor that when you take your trash out to the curb, you don't undo the twist tie and stick your face in the bag, right? You just take it out
Really?
to the curb and the nice guys take it away, right?
Yeah,
It's just think
not a
about
visual I needed, Kathy, but I appreciate
but
that.
it's the truth because right there's therapies out there where you're talking about all the things that pain you, and that does have its place, but sometimes not so much because you could just go years and years and years to that type of therapy and you could find out 500,000 ways why you're mad at mom and dad, but you don't ever feel any better because you're trying to use your logical conscious mind to heal an emotional wound. It's like trying to use a ruler to measure the temperature. It's the wrong instrument. So
So then, sorry.
go
So then
ahead.
hypnosis can help with grief, I would imagine, if you lost someone very important to
100%.
you.
Yes. Yes,
Wow,
yes,
that's
yes, yes,
fantastic.
yes, yes, yes.
Mm,
I
Yeah.
bet so many people would never consider that, but if
No,
that's
and you're
something,
absolutely right,
holy
Karen. They
cow.
wouldn't. They don't even realize that it can help with, basic stress management on a
Mhm.
day to day. But we just buckle up, Buttercup, and get on with our day, right? Because that's what our
Yeah.
society teaches us. And next thing you know, you've got high blood pressure or hypertension, and your body's saying not happy. So
Mhm.
taking that preventative maintenance with both meditation and hypnotic work is going to make a tremendous impact on overall health.
yeah, it can help with so many things that people don't think about
Mhm.
Yeah.
because, unfortunately, the first thought is they're going to make me cluck like a chicken, right? Like,
It's
The
always a
cluck
chicken
like a
too.
chicken at bark. I charge extra for that, you guys. So
oh, well,
I'll pay extra to watch him do that.
let me, yeah, let me get
that's
my
right.
piggy bank out.
What about a goat? Can you do a goat?
Every
No,
time
you
his
can't.
cell phone rings, he's got a ninny like a goat. There you go.
It's not funny.
That's funny.
So this can help for a lot of different things that people aren't aware of. But one of the things that we are the most interested in the show, obviously, is spirituality. I believe, right, that there is some people would say that this is a way to reach out to your higher self to help instill different thought processes or remove different things that are preventing us from spiritual awakening, things like that. Is that right?
Oh yes, 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 yes. That's those are some of my most favorite sessions to do. And I'm glad more and more people are just inherently waking up to this fact. I'm getting calls from people that they're like, I'm not quite sure I want to come see you, but I think I need to. So
Mm,
they just realize that something's shifting within them,
Mhm.
and they're connecting with their divine self. So this process, well, what we're doing is we're getting into deep into the theta brainwave, which is the brainwave that we're all in right before we fall asleep. So
Mhm.
you're not fully unconscious and you're not fully conscious. You're in a state of non-resistance. And when you're in that state of non-resistance, you're connecting with your higher self, your divine self. And this is giving you all the answers that you're needing and the connection that you're needing. And it's the people that I've worked with their spiritual development, the experiences that I've had is just incredible. And it's not just through past life regression. I do a
which
process
you
that
do, right?
which I do, and those
Mhm.
are so much fun. They really are. And some people are incredibly vivid with their experiences. Like, I mean, it's like they're living it. They're back in that time again. And other people just see it as a movie. And some
Mhm.
people just have a sense like they're getting just little flicks, like how you can have memories of childhood. It's just little, not a full memory, but little flicks. And so some people have that experience, but those are profound and amazing. But I also do life between lives. So we're going to your essence basically before you incarnate,
Ooh.
between lifetimes. Like we could go back before you incarnated as Will and Karen in this lifetime and get imprints or messages of what your purpose is in this
Wow.
lifetime.
Wait. I'm getting a message right now. My sentences are coming in. I see me doing this with you very soon.
Yes, I do. I see you
Yeah.
doing it too.
That sounds really
I'm
interesting.
picking up
Wow.
on
Wow,
the same
really,
message.
that's
Absolutely. Absolutely. Another fun session as well is, and it's kind of goes in with the life purpose awareness, is it's an ultra height, which is what that means. And I didn't coin the name of this process. You get in a super deep, almost somnambulistic state. When you're in somnambulism, you're in such a deep state, you're not even aware of what's going on. You're almost comatose in this state. And once you're in that state, I take your mind and we go up, up, up into the quantum field. And it's in this state where you are in our ethereal home, if you will, and you're
Mhm.
able to connect with whomever you need to connect with. You're able to get the whatever messages that you need. You're able to have whatever experiences you need, and if all you need is just to be quiet and still and have a cellular subatomic healing, that's what we do. Otherwise,
S-
we can explore. Yeah.
So is that what people considered QHHT? Is that the quantum
Very
healing
yes,
hypnotist?
yes, yes, yes. Yeah,
Mm,
which is, fascinating in itself, and yeah, it is very much rooted in Dolores Cannon's work,
mm.
and connecting with the collective.
Wow.
Yeah,
Do you do hypnotherapy on children? And if you do, is it easier? Are they more inclined to let it happen?
that is an excellent question, Karen. Yes, it is. I prefer to work with children over the age of 10, but I have worked with children younger than that. It depends on the child and just how able they are to focus.
Hmm.
Really, it is.
Mm.
But 10 and older, they're already walking through life in a beta. I'm sorry, in a theta brainwave. So they're already fantasizing and
Hmm.
pretending and make believe and living in that space. So they're very. Plus, they also don't have preconceived ideas of what they think it is,
Hmm.
Right.
which is what most adults have.
And if you have a session with a child, 10 years old or so, are the parents there as well?
The parents are there for the pre-talk, and we ensure that the child is comfortable by the time we are to have our actual hypnosis session. And then the parent waits in the waiting room. Only one time did the child not feel quite comfortable enough, and mom needed to hang out, and I'm perfectly fine with that. That's not a problem. But it's usually a bit better for the child to be a little more independent and
Hmm.
work with me, and that way we can have more of an integral relationship together because
Mm,
we're both energetically connecting as we're doing this work, and it's how I work with my clients. So
mm.
and I find that the child gets more out of it.
There's a tremendous amount of inferred trust in this relationship, right? Because
Yes.
when we went to go see you, we were on our way out. We were like, she could have implanted anything in our minds. We could be, she says hello and we start neighing like a goat, right? At some point during the interview.
Right.
But what would you say to someone who says, I don't know if I could just go in and fully trust? Does it take a while? I mean, obviously, it takes a while to develop, but is there anything that you can do to alleviate someone's fears that you're going to do something that's not going to be copacetic with them?
Well, that is you're right. That is inferred trust because most clients will know as they walk in and meet me for the first time. You'll know within the first 3 seconds you meet me whether or not you trust me or not.
Hmm.
And this is why I spend so much time with the pre-talk, because that's important to build rapport. If the
Right.
rapport isn't there, you're not going to let yourself go into trance.
Hmm.
Period. That's not going to happen. So it's important to be educated, and that time allows us to get to know each other. And never have I had a client go, "No, I don't like you," and, and go, "We're not doing this. We're not moving forward." Never have I had that happen in all
Right.
the years I've been doing it. So, but no, you're right. It is sacred to me, and I think I express that pretty openly with my clients, of how important this work is to me and how sacred the space needs to be that you're in while you're in my office, and the care that I'm going to give you while you're there.
Yeah, and I will say firsthand experience. Your office is unbelievably welcoming, and you
Hmm.
are
Thank you.
amazingly genuine in everything. Every interaction that you and I and Karen have had has been very genuine, very authentic, very welcoming, and it's just safe. I guess is the best way to say it. You
Mission
give
accomplished.
Yeah, yeah. You give off a very safe environment, which is great. So for those who might be listening and or considering reaching out to you, I would urge them to, because you are truly a wonderful human being, aside from the hypnosis stuff. But
Thank you
uh,
so much, Will. I appreciate that.
So, Will, I'm looking at the time. We don't have a whole lot of time left, and I know we want to talk about our experiences. So, why don't you go ahead and tell us what it
you
was like for you?
you read my mind. I was going to go there next. People who have listened to the show for a long time know about my first experience with hypnosis and my constant search for the void. Right
Right.
when I was brought under the first time, I found myself floating in this void, this darkness, and it was the most peaceful, most serene, most comfortable, most amazing experience that I had had to date. And
Wow.
the hypnotist did a hypnotic suggestion that if I put my two fingers to touch my thumb, it would automatically get me right back into that state. And it worked incredibly for a good long time, but eventually it
Wore
wears off.
off. Yeah.
Right. So I've always been in search of that void again through meditation, through
Mhm.
Reiki, through all kinds of different practices. Never was able to
Altered
find it.
states. Yeah.
Yep. Was
Mm.
never able to find it until I got hypnotized by you.
Mm.
It almost felt like every time, and you do say a lot, you asked us to relax a lot. And there was a point in time when obviously you hear about all the hypnotists that they count down from 10 or whatever. And as you count down, you get a little bit deeper. Well, I got to the point where every time that you brought me deeper, I physically felt my body just drop
Yeah. Yeah.
further and further and further. And that was amazing because eventually I found myself floating in that void again, and it
Yay.
was glorious. Yeah. So to me, it was fantastic, truly fantastic.
That's
How
awesome.
was it for you, Karen?
For me, it was different. So I think in this case, I was the skeptic. Because I also am that person that likes to be in control. I've never really done drugs because I don't want to be out of that mental control.
Right.
And so I'm like, it's not going to work. So, I sat down, it was very comfortable, and I was listening to you, and you were just constantly talking. So I guess that is what helped me.
I bore you to death.
No, that's not what I mean. It's like rhythm. Oh my God.
I'm sorry. I had to pipe in on that.
No, but it's almost like this rhythm or something of your voice that kind of really relaxes you.
The
and helps you
cadence, yeah.
Yeah, thank you. That was the word I'm looking for. So I'm listening to it, and I'm listening to the suggestions, and I'm like, well, maybe, maybe not. But I was kind of still in my head for most of the time. And then you said something that I don't know what made you say it. And I don't know how deeply in I must have been for it to have the effect that it had on me, because it was something that in real life I never would have thought was a problem. It's something I know I do, but it's, I didn't think it was a big deal. But you told me you don't have to worry anymore, or you don't have to worry about it. And I just started crying. It like, I had no idea how deeply that was a part of me
It
and
was,
how tightly I
yeah.
held on to that. And that was like, you pulled that in from like way deep inside of me. And my response or my reaction was so strong, and it has been a game changer. It has
Wow.
been a game changer since then.
It
So
sure
I guess
has.
it worked.
Yeah.
Well,
In this-
that's the power of the suggestion, and you were such a place to where you were ready to stop that, and I tuned right in on that, I guess, because,
yeah.
well,
Holy
as I
cow.
said earlier, I'm energetically connected with my clients as we're
Mm.
working. You can't not be when you're doing that type of work. So I picked up on where you were at, and it's my job to say the right thing to be acceptable to your subconscious mind, to help you make these transformations that are so important to the world, not just to yourself, because you're here for a reason, just like all of us are.
It was
Holy
so
cow.
impactful, in fact, that I see the tears welling up in her eyes right now.
Aw,
Start calling me out. You always call
I
me out.
love that. Well,
That's my job.
I'm so happy to hear that you both found your sessions to be of such value. That makes my heart full. It truly does.
And kind of one of the points that I want to make to someone who may have never been hypnotized and they want to go, and you might not even realize it, because honestly, I thought it was in my conscious part of it that was still conscious during the time. I was thinking, oh, this is really pleasant. It's very relaxing. It's very nice, but it's not really doing anything.
Huh.
But then, oh my God. And so, I think, Will, have you noticed me being less of a obsessive warrior?
Completely.
It's I sleep so
Yeah,
much better at night. It's crazy.
It's one of the things I wanted to make sure that I mentioned, because I did see a change in you, and it started immediately after your session. It wasn't like a month down the road. It
Yeah,
was
no,
like
it was right away.
it
Instant
was like a light
change.
switch. Yeah.
That's beautiful. And when you get that validation, especially from your partner like that, it's just like,
Yeah.
wow. And you feel it in yourself, but then when the people around you notice it, that's a big deal.
It is a big deal. And yeah, so definitely if someone goes, just you have this experience, maybe you didn't think it worked, trust me, it's working. Because you might not, want to let go of the control, like I subconsciously or maybe even consciously didn't really want to let go, or I have a hard time with that. But boy.
Most people do. So it's my
right.
job to help make it easier for people who feel like, oh, I can never let control, because you really weren't ever out of control, were you?
Right. No.
Mm-mm.
And maybe that's why I didn't feel like it worked because I didn't know what to expect. I'm like, they always say they don't remember being a chicken. So, maybe I'm doing it wrong.
That's right.
Yeah. It's funny because when I first learned about you, it was at an event at the Edgar Casey ARE that's right down the
Yes.
street here. And as I was looking at your material, you weren't there, you were somewhere else at the time, but this gentleman came up to me, and I didn't tell you, I haven't told anybody this, but this gentleman came up to me and saw me looking at your material, and he looks at me and he goes, "That Cathie, she's the real deal, man.
Oh my
She's the real
goodness.
deal." So I was like, okay, this is who I'm going to reach out to
I
talk
love
to about
that.
hypnosis.
That
And
was my guardian angel.
well, your guardian angel is a very well-known actor in the local area.
Oh, well,
I've
he
seen him
is. You're
before.
absolutely right. He actually helped me come up with the name Hypno Health Solutions. So
Oh, well, there you go. There you go.
I know who you're talking about.
Yeah, yeah. We run in the same circle, so
Of
there's
course, of
an
course.
inherent trust in there too, coming from him. So that's what prompted me to invite you onto the show, because if he says you're the real deal, I had to try it for myself, and sure enough,
Wow,
I will
that's
say
awesome.
you are the real deal. So
Thank
much so
you.
that I do plan on going back and becoming a paying client, because you were really truly inspiring and wonderful. So
Well, thank you. Well, appreciate that. But and
yeah.
as usual, you as well, Karen. It was an honor to work with you both.
Well, thank you. So I
You're
can't thank
welcome.
you enough.
You're
Yeah.
welcome.
I have some family coming in town that I might try to, hey, let's go.
Throw 'em my way,
You
honey.
need some help.
Yeah. And we know a certain 11-year-old girl who might be
I
all about
think
it.
she would benefit. The only thing is I would want to know like what went on in there. Is that something that like you wouldn't be able to tell me?
No, no,
Ah,
no, 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 no.
no.
But
No.
what would be wonderful is the marked difference in how happy your child is.
Hmm.
Okay.
Right? That's what the bottom line, Mom, right?
I know, but I just want to know everything about her. It's like
Aw.
it can help, It's like you
Oh,
want to help.
absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
So people come to you because they have a certain something they want to work on, whether it's past life regressions or get closer to their spirituality or get over grief or anything like that. But if someone wanted to go to you and something's calling to them because they don't know why they want to go to you, but they just want to go to you,
Yeah.
is that okay, or do they have to have a specific reason to go
No,
see you?
no, I love working with the people that just have a curiosity. They wanna it's self-discovery. It's being a pioneer. It
Yeah.
yeah,
truly
I guess that
is.
was for me because I had
Yeah,
nothing. I
you
thought
really
I
didn't
didn't
go
know
in with
what.
an agenda. You kinda had a loose idea, and I was like, "Okay, well, let's just take this ride and see where it goes," and
Right.
yeah, and look where it took us, and it was a
Uh-huh.
beautiful thing.
So if you're in the Hampton Roads area, in Virginia Beach, Norfolk, that kind of area, I highly recommend you go see Cathie in person. But
Yeah, absolutely.
I also know that you do this
Virtually.
virtually as well.
Yeah,
How
yeah, I
does that
do.
work?
Kind of like what we're doing now, but more in the Zoom level or Google Meet.
Mm.
And I have just a small little checklist that my clients go through just to secure their environment, that they're comfortable and they're not going to get disturbed. They're not going to have their pet jump up in their lap, which has happened before.
Mm,
They take it. They make sure all their devices are going to be quiet and
Mhm.
and charged, and then we go from there. And it's actually maybe a little bit better because they're wearing earbuds, so my voice is directly in their head.
Oh,
Yeah,
ah,
so yeah, it's a wonderful experience. And do I love one-to-one in person in my office? Of course, that
mm,
because the
mhm,
energetic exchange is wonderful, but that still happens virtually.
mhm.
And I have had clients that have been repeat clients virtually as well. And I still see my clients from Maryland because I'm originally from Maryland. So,
right.
Oh.
yeah, yeah. So, virtually is wonderful.
But you're missing out on that comfy recliner.
Y-
Big
That
brown
is true.
Bertha.
That is true.
That recliner's worth the trip, man.
It
Yeah, it
is.
is. It
It
is.
is. Yeah, one of the most comfortable recliners I've sat in a very long time. I was going to ask if I could borrow that to watch football on a weekend.
Bertha doesn't do football well. I'm sorry.
Uh,
Wouldn't stay awake through it.
that's true.
That's right. That's right.
All right,
That's
it's
right.
over
That's
there.
true. Now, is there any danger? I know that during my session, you were concerned that I might have fallen asleep. That there were a couple moments where you had questioned whether or not I was sleeping.
Yeah.
Does that that must happen all the time. And
Sure
is
it
that
does.
okay?
Yeah, it's my job to keep an eye on you. And what I notice if I think that you have fallen asleep, well, first I feel an energetic shift in you because I'm feeling as you're moving from each level of consciousness from beta, alpha, theta, and then even if you move into delta, which is sound asleep. And if I see that happening, what I notice first of all, next to your energetic shift is that you're non-responsive to me. So if I see that you're non-responsive to me, that's where I need to test you a little bit and just kind of bring you up a notch. And I'll just come right out. I'm speaking directly to your subconscious mind. Bring the
Mm.
level of your attention up to the sound of my voice. And as you do, raise the index finger of your right hand. And next thing you know, you're paying attention to me again.
Okay, so the cattle prod in the corner of your office isn't used for that. Then it's for
No,
something
that's for
else.
non-smokers who don't get it the first time around.
Oh boy.
Break out the Sharpie, draw on them. That's what happens if you fall
I have the
asleep.
sledgehammer. I just hit them over their head with it. No, kidding.
Now you hear about all these hypnosis tapes. Remember back in the day where you used to
Oh,
listen to them
yeah.
when you were
I've
sleeping and
listened
things like
to
that.
them.
Yeah,
Yeah.
is that legit, or is that because you're trying to keep everybody in theta, not delta? So if you going to sleep and you listen to these tapes, you're in delta. Does that still work?
Absolutely, it does. It does. Have you if you remember those the listen while you sleep subliminal stuff, that really,
Yeah.
really does work. But that's just going to be a canned message that's repeated over and over again. But there's nothing wrong with that. I still do it myself, 100%.
Huh.
But when you're working with a hypnotherapist who's properly trained, then they could personalize it for you, which is
Mm,
what I did with you, Karen. And you as well. Well, I mean,
right.
it's not a generic a canned situation. It's more of an authentic, organic situation.
Gotcha. Is that something this is completely out of left field, but is that something that you do? Do you record these things for clients that they can take home with them, or you prefer not to do something like that?
Yeah, there's so much content on YouTube, which I should actually be contributing to, which I'm going to be shifting that as well very soon. I've just been through such a huge move. I haven't been able to focus on that. But there's so much wonderful content on YouTube that is beneficial, but there's a lot that isn't.
Yeah,
There's a lot
and
that isn't.
the hard part is discerning between all of it. There
Yes.
was a point when I was really looking for binaural beats,
Yes.
because I've heard so much about them. But everywhere you turn it, most of the stuff out there doesn't work because it's got to be two completely different frequencies and all that kind of stuff. So how do you know what works and what doesn't? Right? That's why I thought
Well,
maybe it might be a good market for you.
I go by how I feel. I mean,
Mm,
we are feeling creatures. We are emotional creatures, but we've been so conditioned to distract ourselves from our emotions and distract ourselves from our bodies. No, take that pill or do that other thing and distract yourself from how your body's feeling, don't we?
yeah.
But it's your body's going to let you know. Your how you feel is going to let you know if it's the right thing. And I've listened to stuff on YouTube that's of the hypnotic nature, and I will know within the first 5 minutes this is BS.
Mm,
Or I noticed that my mind's taking a left turn where I don't want it to go, and I'm like, okay, something's not right here. So I
right.
listen to that, and
But
then
then isn't it dangerous to be listening to stuff that maybe who knows what nefarious purposes people record stuff
It's
and make
true.
you you're going to pee your pants when you're sleeping or something like that?
So
that's kind of a
nefarious.
funny suggestion. Absolutely. Well, you know what? I think those nefarious things are probably getting axed by the great YouTube. And if unless that suggestion is something that's within your psyche, it isn't going to happen. Your subconscious mind's going to just kick that out. No, you stopped doing that when you were 3 years old. You don't need to be doing that now.
Hmm.
So it depends on how vulnerable you want to allow yourself to be.
Okay. Right. Then I guess I may have to start looking into them again because
Yeah,
I
yeah.
ran away from them. Say no, I can't trust them. So
I'd be happy to refer some of the ones that I listen to that I feel are very ethical and legitimate and down to earth. And I've noticed just a good shift in myself by
mm,
listening to these things. I'd be happy to refer some to you
that would
and
be
give
great.
them to
Great.
your
Yeah.
listener as well. Boost everybody, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. If you have a couple of links you want to send our way, we'll be happy to put those in the show notes. So
Yes,
if you're
yes, I'd be
listening to
happy
this,
to. Yes.
you want to go to our show notes, you can click on the links directly and find the content that Cathie's um, recommending. I don't want to say endorsing or anything like that, but
Yeah, I'm
just
recommending.
recommending.
Yeah, that's a personal recommendation.
All right. Okay. Oh my gosh,
Perfect.
Cathie, I could talk to you forever. In fact, after the session, I texted you like, "Oh my God, this is amazing!" Right? You said, would you call it the hypno high or something like that?
Yes, the hypno high. It's a beautiful thing, isn't
Yeah, yeah.
it?
Dude, you feel like $1,000,000 when you get out of that chair, man. I'll tell you
Yeah,
what,
yeah, yeah. It's a
it's amazing.
magical place to be, and I'm so honored to help so many people be that be at that vibration, because that's really my goal, is to help raise the vibration of
Mhm.
this planet. Because the more that we're all vibing at a higher frequency, we're more feeling more of that self love. It's going to be a better place to live for everybody. Would you agree?
No,
Absolutely.
no
Yeah,
doubt about that. If you are interested in reaching out to Cathie to try out whether virtually or in person her services, we'd love to hear from you to let us know how it went. Because I'm really curious about the virtual stuff.
Yeah.
Because
yeah,
I would think it'd be harder to go under because of all the distractions, but maybe not. You're right.
The
Being
earbuds are
talking
cool. Yeah.
into their ears directly might make a
makes a big
difference.
difference. Yeah,
Kathy, thank you so much for coming on and talking to us about this. And thank you for bringing us into your office and showing
Mhm.
us the wonderful world of hypnosis.
Ooh, yes.
We are definitely converts. So we'll see us
wonderful.
again for sure.
Thank you so much, you guys. It was an honor working with you, and thank you for having me on your show. Really,
Yeah,
really, really appreciate it.
our pleasure. And we'll add all your social media links and all that kind of stuff on our
Perfect.
show notes. So if you're interested in reaching out to her, just go to skepticmetaphysician.com, go to her episode page, and you'll see all the links listed directly there. If you're listening to this on your phone, then there's a little I button somewhere that's going to open up the show notes and have the links there directly so you can go right from your phone as well. Thank you for coming along on this journey of discovery. We'd love to continue our conversation with you on Facebook or Instagram under @skepticmetaphysician or at skepticmetaphysician.com. And if you're listening to this on the radio and you missed something, don't worry. All of our shows, including this one, can be found at skepticmetaphysician.com. We can also watch the videos or even send us email or voicemails directly from the site. Promise, won't send you a sales pitch. We simply want to hear from you. And we'd love it if you'd rate and review the show so we can attract more fantastic guests like Cathie to share it with you. We hope you've enjoyed this episode as much as we have. That's all for now. We'll see you on the next episode of The Skeptic Metaphysicians. Until then, take care.